Perimenopause is getting a lot more attention these days, but figuring out if you're in it and then being taken seriously if you are is still quite hard work. Hello, I'm Hayley. If you've not been here before, I'm 43. I started having perimenopause symptoms when I was 38, but I didn't really know that's what was happening. I wanted to do this video while I was out on a lovely walk with my dog, but she's gone away for the weekend on the little holidays, so I have a picture of her here. That'll have to do. I'm trying to bring a bit of the outside in, so apologies if you can hear a bit of traffic or whatever. So the very first thing that I noticed, which led me to go to the doctors when I was 38, was a massive change in mood. What was PMT, maybe feeling a bit rough, maybe a bit grumpy, maybe a bit down, was gradually getting worse and worse every month. The levels of depression and anxiety were quite wild. It got to the point where I had a journal, diary, notebook, whatever, in the kitchen open, and every single day I had to write down the smallest of jobs that I needed to complete just so that I could get them done. Unloading the dishwasher, picking up the dog poo from the garden, remembering to brush my teeth, get washed, do the little things that seem so completely normal, and yet they turned into these massive mountains that I had to climb every day. And writing them down and ticking them off was the first thing that really started to help me get to grips with it. But I made an appointment at the doctor's. I went, I was completely overwhelmed, I started crying, I couldn't hold it in. It was pretty embarrassing, but she was a nice doctor, so I didn't feel too stupid. And it was like she just knew what was happening, which I think is a bit of a rarity actually, finding a doctor that listens to you and understands and then gives you some good information. She gave me some leaflets and printed out stuff on perimenopause, and there was a Perimenopause UK group that you could join. The only other thing that she could offer me at that time was to put me on sertraline, which I did try, but I really didn't like. And I don't actually think it's the right solution for most people, because I didn't have a problem with depression or anxiety. My hormones were causing the problem. Maybe it works for some people, but it wasn't doing anything for me. And in fact, I really didn't like taking it, because if I took it in the morning, it just made me really, really sleepy. And if I took it in the evening, it didn't seem to do anything. So I just packed that in. So eventually I did sort of start talking about it with people, and you generally just get the same response back. Oh, you're too young. It's not the perimenopause. What else is going on? And I don't know if they're trying to be kind by saying you're too young to be thinking about the menopause or what, but it's not helpful. And it just made me feel worse. And then I asked my mum about it, and she said that she started the menopause when she was 40. Oh, thanks, Mum. You could have told me this earlier. I know it's not. My mum was born in 1943. It's not really her generation's idea to talk about that sort of stuff, I suppose, and they just had to get on with it. So, but me having symptoms when I was 38 wasn't out of the realms of normality if she started when she was 40. And once I actually knew what was starting to happen and I could put a name to it, it made me feel mentally better, mentally more able to cope. Because there's things that I could research, there's things that I could look into, there's things that I could try and do for myself. It gave me something to, hold on to and move forward with. And so after the crazy mood swings, I noticed that my sleep really started to suffer. It just got really irregular. I couldn't sleep through a night. I'd be waking up, and things that probably wouldn't have bothered me before were waking me up. So I felt like I'd become a really light sleeper. Maybe it's because I wasn't switching off or relaxing properly, I don't know. And that was kind of it for the first couple of years. And then when I turned 41, my periods started going weird. And I'd always been like really regular, never more than a day or so either way, 5 to 7 days maximum. But then I was late, I was early, it was lasting 3 days, it was lasting 10 days, and then I'd miss one, and I was cramping more, which is something that I'd never really suffered from. And it wasn't like all really, really awful now that I knew what was happening. It was more an annoyance that I had to put up with. By the time I was 42, my periods were just getting heavier and heavier. There was a lot more discharge in between periods. Skin had started changing. Hormonal acne became a thing. And I'd never really suffered when I was a teenager. You know, I had a few spots, but it wasn't that bad. And it's probably worse now than it was back then anyway. I tend to get them on my jawline, on my cheeks. I'm having a bit of a breakout at the moment, normalising normal skin on videos. Then the mood swings were escalating, and that led to more arguments with my partner. And he's a good guy. He was trying his best, but I think even he was preempting how I was feeling. He became anxious because he knew I was going to be in a mood, and that led to my mood being worse, and just a mess. The anxiety is just weird. I mean, I made a video a while ago about me going to IKEA on my own, which sounds so stupid, but I used to be the sort of person that just went out and about and did whatever the hell they wanted. And then I turned into this person that was scared to drive for more than an hour on my own. And that's the bit that I think I probably dislike the most, because I feel like it's taken my life away from me and I'm changing into this person that I didn't used to be. Something else that's been weird as a physical symptom is chills. And I can even feel the surface of my skin is not cold. It's like a feeling deep inside where you're just freezing and it's emanating outwards. And it's not very pleasant. But I think turning 43, which was January just gone, 2024, that was sort of a watershed moment. Felt like I'd kind of gone up a gear to the next level, because all this other stuff is happening in the background and slowly getting worse and getting worse. And my periods really did a number on me then. My periods were lasting between 3 and 30 days. 30, like nearly a whole month of being on your period. That was okay, I'm going back to the doctors now. And I'd put it off and put it off and put it off. But I thought, I've really got to advocate for myself here. I need to stand up and be heard, because bleeding for 30 days is not a normal occurrence. So the UK health system over the last 5 years seems to have taken something of a nosedive. Getting an appointment is not as straightforward as it used to be. I had a text consultation followed by a phone consultation, then actually a real face-to-face appointment. And they did listen. She sent me for all the scans to make sure it wasn't any of the big scaries, the big C's, and that all came back clear. But they weren't really that bothered about my mental health, which I find really troubling. And I don't know if I came across as being too okay, whether I should have hammed myself up a bit, which sounds awful. But I even said on my telephone appointment that my mood swings had got so bad, I was at the point where thoughts of unaliving oneself were part of my thought patterns, which feels so stupid and dumb to say at this moment in time, because I'm totally fine and I'm not depressed and I love my life and all the rest of it. But when that starts to happen, when the hormone levels get messed up and they're sending incorrect signals to my brain, and they just didn't seem that bothered. I don't know. But that was the lowest point, and that was genuinely quite scary, especially when you've come out of it. And what worries me is, if that happens again, how low do I go and how quickly do I come out of it? But so far, being more aware of what is happening is a massive help. But as it stands, I do have a plan. I have been referred to see a specialist, which could be about 6 months before I get the appointment, but I'm on the list. And then depending on what happens at that appointment and what they do or don't find out, depends on what hormones, if any, I'll be introduced to and how I'll be introduced to them. See how that goes. and then full-blown sequential HRT. The sequential HRT is one that you can take while you're still having periods. So how long it takes to see that journey through, I genuinely have no idea. I could still be sat here next year and not know what's happening. But I will post updates on this channel as and when things happen, appointments go through, because I always think it's valuable to see how people are actually going through this rather than just some anecdotal evidence on TV or whatever. And although it is a bit cheesy, I did make a perimenopause hack for the sort of 5 symptoms that bother me the most. So if you fancy giving that a watch, it's here. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.